Alright, this is my server. We're going to remove both of the heat sinks and put on their active heat sink instead of passive, and put in some more RAM. That's it right now. We're also going to be moving all these fans out and putting in 120mm fans instead of these crazy server fans. Alright, so we got the other passive heat sink off. One thing you guys want to remember is that whenever you're taking the heat sinks off, let's see here, so they've got 4 screws that hold them on, and when you take them off, you want to make sure that you unscrew these screws, not all at once, but a little by little, right? And you go at an X pattern, so you do this one here, this one here, this one, this one, and the same thing for when you put it on. The reason being is because this piece right here that's got the thermopaste on it makes contact with the processor. Now this is a heat spreader right here, okay? And under there is a chip, and it's a lot smaller than this. And if you put too much pressure on it, you know, one corner or the other corner, you can actually crack this and then also crack your processor. So you definitely don't want to do that. That's why you have to unscrew and screw in an X pattern, applying equal pressure as it goes down or comes off. Both ways you can mess it up. Alright, I'll shoot another video in a minute. We're back. So the passive coolers that are on there, they use screws, right? And that's how they, go down. We just talked about that. The non-server active coolers don't use screws. They use these clips right here, and the way these work is you push it down. This piece right here pushes through the board. All right, let's see if I can even focus in on it. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Kind of, yeah. You can kind of see it on that one further in. Anyway, it pushes on down on the board, and you wouldn't have these screws right here, right? And it would just go through the board for the PCB and catch on the other side and just hold itself in place. So what we're gonna have to probably do is actually remove this entire board and then take off the bracket for those passive coolers so that this can use so we can use this one. And I've got to do some test fitting and everything to make sure it's gonna clear all these capacitors and whatnot, or whatever that they are, and make sure it's gonna work. I'm not 100% sure that it will. Alright, so to remove the motherboard, we've got to take away all these added cards right here. Now these are RAID cards, graphics card, RAID card. We're also going to remove these fans right here. These fans are pretty cool because they one-handed operation here. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, you can see kind of like that. Let's do that. So they have a clip you press right here, and then you pull the fan up, and it comes out just like that. Alright, you can do the other one too. Just press this clip here, pull up, and it comes out. This is usually what servers have on them. They're just hot swappable fans. This is a really old one. They're crazy huge. Most new servers don't use them like this. They're little tiny 60mm or 40mm fans that are swappable. They're like tornado fans. And these are a little bit different than most CPU fans or case fans that you're going to see. These are a lot thicker, a lot bigger. Now we just have to remove all these cables here, everything everywhere, and get the board out. I'll update you in a minute. Alright, so we got both of the rear fans off. We did that a while ago. We've got all these fans off right here, if you remember those. Now they're gone. And the same thing as the back ones. They're hot swappable. They just pull out. They're just a little bit larger right here. I mean, a little bit of comparison. I don't know if you can really tell, but they're a lot bigger. And we're getting all these cards out right now. I'm just going to set these like this here, just kind of out of the way, but not going to undo any of these SATA cables. The reason being is because I have these all set up, going to certain areas on the front hot swap bay area, whatever you want to call it, and I don't want to get those mixed up. Certain cards control certain hard drives, and they're in RAIDs, and if you start mixing those up, it's not going to work right. So that's what we're doing here. I'll update you here in a second. I also want to show you guys that we're also having to remove these brackets right here. Alright, and this is what makes the fans hot swappable. They slide down between this one here and this one. These are just held on by a screw, I guess, on right here, and then they pop out. So we got to remove both of these. We don't have to remove anything here that's connected to the case, so that's good. But I'll update you back here in a second. Alright, so we've got everything detached. All the SATA ports, or the SATA cables, they're taken off. They're just sitting back right there. We've got all the expansion cards taken out, the passive heat sinks, one things that we're replacing, that stuff disconnected. I didn't have to remove this one. This is going to be kind of out of the way. All the cables disconnected. What I want to show you now, on server motherboards, there's a few things that you'll see that you don't normally see. One is a second CPU slot, right, and then this other one is also, you know, a whole another set of RAM that you can put in there, and that's because this processor controls this RAM, this processor controls this RAM. You'll also see a second, this is one right here, and another one right here, CPU power. You know, 2 CPUs, you've got to have the extra power for that. Another really cool thing is USB right on the board. I'm not going to take it off to lift the board. But this is for the operating systems, because a lot of the times on servers, the operating systems are something you're going to put on a thumb drive, not necessarily going to put on the hard drives. That's where you're going to put your data, especially when you're doing a data center or like a NAS or anything like that. So you put your operating systems on this guy right here. Now, other servers, I'll take you over here to the HP ProLiant D7, which one is this? 380 G6 right here, and a G7's right here. This is the new one. This one's the older one. These will have the USBs, and they'll have SD cards for you to put on there. I don't know what the big difference is as far as using one of those versus a USB drive is. This is also the hot swappable fans, tornado style. See, they're all across here. Push it air through there to the through the passive cooler, and then out the back. You can see these are built a lot different when they're from the manufacturer, already a server, not something you're custom building. Just everything, it's completely different. Different board, different form factor, all that. So I do want to show you guys me taking the motherboard out. It's going to be kind of a crappy quality on all this because, well, it requires 2 hands, and I don't have really a hand to hold the camera. So I'll just do this number here, and I'll just talk to you guys. Alright, so you want to make sure that you're not grabbing, you know, this here, or if the heatsink was on there, not grabbing the heatsink and yanking on that, or any expansion cords. Hopefully all that's gone by now. You do want to hold kind of the ends right here, and you want to just kind of pull it out like that number there. Not really touching too much of it. You don't want to get crazy with it and get your oils all over it. Now I'm just going to be putting this kind of like this right here so that I can get to this right here and I don't have to unhook all the other cables. Alright, so what I think I'm going to end up doing is not something I'd recommend, but you can see here, right, there is this bracket that does this number here. It holds the processor down, okay? And so that doesn't move or anything like that. But to put this bracket on, which is from here, you have to have this bracket on, okay? And this goes under the motherboard like this, and these screw holes right here are these screws right there, and they go down and hold it in. But for me to use the active cooler here instead of the passive one there, I would have to either remove these screws right here, okay? And I'm not sure if they are glued in there. I'm pretty sure that, I really think that's how they are. I don't think they're screwed in there. But I'd have to remove those out, or I'd have to cut this here to make it all work. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to keep these off and leave it like that and see how it works. This shouldn't cause any damage. It's just going to keep applying pressure to it. It's not going to mess anything up. They should stay there. The fans are going to hold them in spot. Alright, so we've got both processors out. We've got the back plates out and the brackets that hold them in. Both processors are right here. They're a little bit dirty, I guess. See, there we go. So I've taken alcohol, 93%, cleaned the surface here, and then a really diluted, it's probably less than 10% alcohol, to clean the contact surface there. There was a little bit of thermal paste, and I just want to get them cleaned up. So we're gonna put those back on there. We're gonna slap some thermal paste back down. Might do the thermal paste on this guy right here, just because it's really old, and that thermal paste that was on there was super nasty and super hard. When thermal paste gets hard, it loses its ability to transfer heat, and so the processors will keep most of the heat because they can't transfer out to the heat spreader, which is this right here, right? And which is this right here. So we'll probably end up cleaning that out too. I'll get back to you guys in just a minute. Alright, so I just want to stop and show you guys something. You can see that there's still some thermal paste on there. I don't know if you can really see it, but I'll show you this. So you see the contact surface on this guy right here. I'm also going to clean that off, but it's not going to make contact with the entire surface of this heat spreader, right? So this whole outside edge right here isn't going to make contact. So the most important part is the center, and that's cleaned off. And again, it's cleaned with alcohol, so there's no residue left behind or anything, and that's exactly what you want. Guys, everything's back together. As you can see, we got both the fans in there. I was a little worried because they didn't seat completely properly. They're making full contact and everything, but this board, I don't believe, was really meant to have, you know, these active coolers on here. But they're working. We checked the motherboard temperatures, or the temperatures through the BIOS on both the CPUs. They're low, they're not getting hot. We did put a different graphics card in here, one with a fan on it, so I have just a little bit more cooling going. The graphics card's in this server because if I want to put Windows on it and I want to host or a VM that has graphics capability, it'll do a pass-through, and so we can do maybe a little bit game server off of it, playing off of it like, you know, Steam does. Maybe something like that. We'll try that out. I had a little bit of issues with the RAM. We've got 12 sticks in here. We got 32 gigabytes total. That's 4 4s and the rest are 2s. It didn't want to read them all to begin with, so we had to mess with that a little bit. We had some other RAM sticks that we got to swap out, and so we got everything working. We changed out the fans up here. We completely removed those out. In fact, that's the bracket that held everything together. We just put 3 120mm fans in here. These are the ones I had laying around. They're not mounted. They're not even zip tied up there. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But this is really just to see how it works kind of deal right now. It's working okay, I guess. You know, we got air going, which is what we want. A little bit of airflow. Because what happened is you've got drives all through here. Those are all hard drives, each one of these. Okay, they're not all filled up. I think I have 5 in there right now, but they generate heat, you know, and you've got to have some kind of airflow that will passively cool them, and that's what that is. We've got them plugged into the motherboard. I was thinking these fans were the 4-prong fans that you can control the speed on. They're not. They're 3-prong, so they're not variable speed, but they're also not loud. This is full blown, as fast as it's going to go right here, and it's nothing. It's leaps and bounds better than what it was before, and it sounded like a rocket. And it doesn't now. So I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit and slap the top back on and be done with it. Got all the servers back over here. There are 2 ProLiant ones. One of them I showed you earlier. It was the inside. They're running, and the SuperMicro 933 is actually what motherboard is in this guy here. That's running, and you can hear how quiet it is. You can not hear how loud it is because it's not loud anymore. We've also got a Cisco switch up there running unmanaged, and it's got fans, so it makes a little bit of noise. All the fans that both of these have the same amount of fans that you saw a while ago. when we showed the inside of the Reliant. They've all got that in there. Most of the noise that you're hearing from this guy right here is going to be the power supplies. They're pretty loud. I want to say I've got all three of them plugged in right now. 3 500-watt power supplies. These I think have 700 watts, 2 each, and so it's a lot of power back here. Let me just look around really quick, show you guys what's going on. If you guys are interested, this one right here is my it's running VMware, and it's got a couple operating systems running on it also, and it's a game server, whatnot. This one right here is a domain server. I think that's all that one's being used for right now. This one right here is really the one being abused, as it's running FreeNAS, which is network attached storage, but it's the FreeNAS operating system based off FreeBSD. I think I've got 8 or 9 terabytes of storage running on this guy right here, and it's running a Minecraft server. It's running a media server Plex. It's torrenting. It's hosting files, all sorts of stuff on here, and it's actually attached to the VMware up here. It is hosting operating systems for this guy right here. The way that works is NFS, and it just attaches to it, and it installs operating system on this, because this has only got, I want to say, a little bit over a terabyte, and you know, this one has a lot more room on it. So that's what we've got going on. It's not very loud at all. It's maybe the equivalent of a gaming laptop or a gaming desktop.